Oha. Nein, danke. Aber was ist Hip-Hop überhaupt? Wir sagen, wir leben für Hip-Hop, aber was ist es überhaupt? Als erstes mal, bevor es zu Hip-Hop geht, muss ich krass rudern. Krass rudern. Extrem rudern. Ich habe nämlich in irgendeiner Spätschau mal gesagt, dass ich finde, dass die Temperatur bei unter 18 Grad ist es kalt. Ist egal, ob es 10 Grad oder 0 Grad hat, weil alles ist kalt. Aber tatsächlich habe ich heute gemerkt, bei 14 Grad, dass es mollig warm war. Habe kurz danach gedacht, oberkörperfrei nach draußen zu gehen. Aber das liegt einfach daran, dass man sich sehr an Kälte gewöhnen kann, wenn man das trainiert. Und ich fand heute 14 Grad, ich wollte mich in die Sonne legen. Was ist Hip-Hop? Hip-Hop ist vieles. Aber Hip-Hop ist vieles auch nicht. Und ich behaupte, je mehr jemand behauptet, Hip-Hop zu sein, desto weniger weiß er, was Hip-Hop ist. Und desto mehr Käse erzählt er, wenn er davon erzählt, wenn er anderen erklären will, was Hip-Hop ist. Weil die Sätze bla 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 ist Hip-Hop sind die most outrageous Sätze, die man so ziemlich sagen kann. Ich versuche es mal aus meiner Sicht. Wer weiß, ob das stimmt. Als erstes muss man, glaube ich, sagen, dass Hip-Hop nicht mehr das ist, was es mal war. Und dass Hip-Hop sich wie alles weiterentwickelt. Angefangen hat es ja als Bewegung in einem nicht akzeptierten Bereich. Wo Leute quasi Musik gemacht haben, die andere nicht machen und die andere auch noch nicht kannten. Obwohl es ja eigentlich, wie ich gestern ja in der letzten Spätschau ja erklärt habe, eigentlich die Musik ist, die man als erstes macht. Das heißt, Leute, die Musik machen, kannten Hip-Hop wahrscheinlich schon, aber halt natürlich, ich weiß nicht. Das ist ja immer diese Frage, konnten Leute, bevor gerappt wurde, schon rappen, ne? Das ist die Frage, das weiß ich nicht. Ich glaube schon, aber es kann auch sein, dass quasi die Realität so verrückt ist, dass wirklich in den 1980er Jahren Rappen erfunden wurde, nachdem es wieder vergessen wurde. Also dass unsere Vorfahren quasi Sprechgesang konnten, das ist klar, aber ob jetzt zu Zeiten der Beatles irgendjemand auf dem Planeten gerappt hat, weiß ich nicht. Bestimmt, bestimmt. Halt die von unseren Vorfahren die Gedichte gelesen haben, wahrscheinlich. Aber ich weiß nicht. Darum soll es auch gar nicht gehen. Jedenfalls, irgendwann wurde Hip-Hop dann kommerzieller und bekannter und weltweit. Und das ist das, woran sich die meisten Leute erinnern, was Hip-Hop angeblich ist. Das heißt, die 5 Elemente, nämlich Graffiti, Beatboxing, Rappen, DJing und Tanzen, was ja mega geil ist. Was ja alles mega geil ist, wo ich riesen Fan davon bin. Das Ding ist, wenn du nur diese Sachen machst, bist du beschränkt, ne? Weil zum Beispiel Buchlesen ist da nicht dabei oder Mathematik oder oder auf seine Finanzen achten oder an die frische Luft gehen und nicht das Battle suchen. Also, ne, das ist natürlich das könnte natürlich auch deswegen habe ich gesagt, wenn jemand, der von sich behauptet, dass er krass Hip-Hop ist, dann ist er es beschränkter. Und wenn er dir dann erzählt, was Hip-Hop ist, dann sagt er beschränkte Sachen. Weil das kra und jetzt kommt das Krasseste. Wenn so jemand, der sagt, dass er krass Hip-Hop ist, tatsächlich alles, was Hip-Hop glorifiziert macht, stehen seine Chancen sehr gering in dieser Welt. Weil du dann ja quasi Hoes, Liquor, äh, ein Constant Battle, ähm, a Crime, ähm, Cockiness, Spending Money, ähm, Looking for the fast dollar, for the fast buck, Ditching Cops, ähm, Champagne, Caviar Dreams. Wenn du natürlich versuchst, in der realen Welt, das quasi zu deinem Dogma zu machen, also wer es schafft, Hut ab, aber würde ich nicht empfehlen, ne? Also, in der Trap, in the kitchen, Skirt, Skirt den ganzen Tag machen. Es klingt natürlich extrem cool, ist aber, wie das Wort schon sagt, eventuell eine Trap. Übrigens gehört Singen auch zu Hip-Hop natürlich. Ähm, deswegen vielleicht nicht rappen, sondern, äh, das MCing ist vielleicht besser, ne? Obwohl man schon sagen muss und deswegen hat sich Hip-Hop auch verändert, dass am Anfang Hip-Hop natürlich, mehr Rap als Singen war und Singen quasi nur so, die Sideshow, um den Rap hervorzuheben. Aber mittlerweile ist es auf jeden Fall sehr stark verschmolzen und heutzutage ist Hip-Hop ein Mainstream-Phänomen, das, gleichsam gute und schlechte Einflüsse auf die Beteiligten hat. Weil das Gute ist auf jeden Fall Völkerverständigung, äh, Zusammenhalt, Loyalität, Musik machen, Kunst auf einsteigerfreundlich zu gestalten, Spaß haben, tanzen, Party. Der stark in Mitleidenschaft gezogene Begriff Liebe untereinander, unter Mann und Frau. Ähm, ich bringe Religion noch mit rein, das machen andere auch. Das finden jetzt Religionsgegner wahrscheinlich nicht so gut, aber ich feiere es, weil für mich ist Religion etwas rein Gutes. Ähm, ja, halt eben, das, was auch glorifiziert ist, eben schöne Sachen, auch in der Außenwelt, aber auch in der Innenwelt eben wertschätzen und auch hochleben lassen. Das Schlechte dabei ist dann natürlich, wenn man das falsch versteht und quasi, äh: „Ich bin besser als du, weil mein Auto größer ist“ oder so, ne? Ich bin besser als du, weil mein Hip-Hop-Video mehr Geld gekostet hat, ne? Lauter solche Sachen, die völlig also, wenn du dir jemanden erzählst, bevor es Hip-Hop gab, der hätte dich für verrückt erklärt und da hätte damit recht gehabt. Aber irgendwie hat Hip-Hop das halt, nicht ganz unabsichtlich gemacht, dass eben, ich weiß nicht, das Survival of the Fittest, quasi in Kraft tritt mit modernen Komponenten. So schlau daherreden tut schon ziemlich gut.
Schön, dass wir darüber gesprochen haben, aber nein.
Aber, Klugscheißerei hin oder her, jeder kann in Hip-Hop finden, was er sucht, genauso wie in der Welt. Die Welt ist ein Spiegel. Du findest immer, was du suchst, ne? Und, ich finde in Hip-Hop viel Gutes. Leute, die Hip-Hop von Grund aus, ablehnen, ist auch geil, weil dann ist es 'n automatischer Outungspunkt dafür, dass es Idioten sind, ne? Es gibt ja Leute, so Vollblut-Mettler, die Hip-Hop komplett ablehnen. Und da braucht es 2 Sätze und dann hat Hip-Hop geholfen zu identifizieren, dass so jemand ein kompletter Idiot ist, ne? Und das ist ja auch gut. Weil zum Beispiel einen schlauen jemand aus 'ner anderen Musikrichtung, da erkennst du einen Schlauen dann auch wieder auf der anderen Seite sehr leicht, indem er sagt: „Ja, also den einen oder anderen Hip-Hop-Song feiere ich“, ne? Und deswegen, also ich glaube, heutzutage ist Hip-Hop genau das, was es sein sollte, nämlich ein komplett in alle Richtungen anwendbares Stilmittel der Kultur, sowohl im Positiven als auch im Negativen. All morning as he ran and walked, he heard a motor droning miles off, and occasional muffled gunshots, and a deep male voice murmuring through a loudspeaker. Then the motor was a few peaks over, and he recognized the sound of the helicopters woof, 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 in the war, and he started moving faster, traumatized. He had been dressed now for almost 12 hours, but after his climb naked into the hills in the cold night air, he was still enjoying the warm, rough feel of clothes. He wore heavy old shoes that the sun had brought around midnight to the hollow by the spring. At first, the shoes had been too large, but he had stuffed leaves into the toes and that had made the shoes tight, so his feet would not slide up and down inside and give him blisters. Even then, the leather was sharp and stiff against his bare feet. Ugh, and he wished the sun had remembered to bring socks. Maybe the sun had forgotten them on purpose. The pants, though, were too tight, and guessing the sun had brought them on purpose also, he had to laugh. Shoes too large, pants too tight. It was a good joke on him. Das Gegenteil von Hip-Hop. These looked like they were one-time dress pants that had been ripped in the seat and patched and now were work pants, light-colored, dark oil and grease stains. The shirt was white cotton, frayed at the cuffs and buttonholes of color. And to go over top and keep him warm in nights, the old man had even handed over his thick red squared wool shirt. That had surprised him, the old man turning so friendly and generous toward the last. Game on. Maybe the whiskey had been what did it. After him, the old man had eaten the carrots and cold fried chicken the son had brought. They had heaved the jug of whiskey back and forth repeatedly, the son included. And finally, the old man had gone as far as giving up his rifle plus a handkerchief tied full of cartridges. Had to hold up once in the hills a couple of days myself, the old man had said. A long time ago, when I was much older than my boy. He had not said why, and Rambo had been careful not to ask. Wasn't even a chance to go home and grab my rifle. Sure could have used it on them. You get out of this, you send me money for that rifle. I want your word. Now that's the money I care about, the stuff I make, God knows I can't afford another. But you get through this, I'd like to know how you made it. And I figure on the rifle reminding you to let me know. She's a good one. And she was. A 30-30 lever action. The power to whack a bullet through a man a half-mile away as if close to a block of cheese. The old man had a thick pad of leather on the end of the sock to ease the recoil. He had a speck of luminous paint on the side at the tip of the barrel to help aiming at night. Then Rambo had done what he promised, backtracking down the stream away from where the old man might have his boiler and coils and jugs. Soon he had pushed west, still planning eventually to turn south for Mexico. He did not fool himself that reaching there would be easy, since he was not about to risk giving himself away by stealing a car. He would have to travel for months on foot through the back country, living off the land. All the time he could not think of any place closer where it would be safe and far as the border was. At least for the time being, it gave him some direction. When he had gone a few miles, forced to move slow because of the dog, he slept in a tree. Weakened with the sun, breakfasted and more carrots and chicken that he had saved from the old man to take with him. Now the sun, high and glaring, he was miles off, rushing through the trees up a long wide draw. The shots were louder, the voice from the loudspeaker more defiant, and he knew before long the helicopter would be checking this draw along with the rest. He broke from the woods to run across an open reach of grass and fern, and 1/4 across he heard the flapping roar almost onto him, and swung in panicked search of cover. Alone in the grass, its trunk shattered by what must have been lightning. The fallen pine tree was all there was. No time to charge back to the woods. He ran and dove beneath its thick, smothering branches, scraping his back as he sprawled under, and then staring through the pine needles. He felt pain. He saw the din appeared round the draw. It grew magnified. Its landing props were close to skimming the topmost branches of the forest. "This is the police!" the man's voice boomed from the captain's loudspeaker. "You don't have a chance. Give out. Anyone these woods. A dangerous fugitive may be near you. Show yourself. Where did you see one man alone?" The voice stopped and started awkwardly, as if the words were being read from a card. "This is the police. You don't have a chance. Give up. Anyone in these woods. A dangerous fugitive may be near you." And on it went. And then it stopped and started again, and Rambo lay beneath the branches perfectly still, knowing the maze of needles hid him from the land, not sure he was covered from the air, watching the copter sweep over the trees toward the grass, the moisture coming from above. It was near enough for him to see up into the glass-fronted cockpit. There were 2 men staring out the open windows on each side, a civilian pilot and a policeman, his uniform the gray of Teasel's men, and out of his window he was aiming a high-powered rifle with a telescopic sight. The shot echoed. Ach nee, das war der Schuss. Hab ich doch. Das war nicht der Cockback, das war der Schuss. Oder beides. The shot echoed, aimed at a tangle of rock and bush at the edge of the forest the copter had just flown over. God, Teasel really wanted it bad, telling his man to shoot at likely hiding places, unafraid of hitting anyone innocent because most people would obey the announcement and come out and show themselves. From Teasel's point of view, why not? As far as Teasel was concerned, he was a cop killer and could not be allowed to get away. Had to be made an example so nobody else would think to kill a cop. Even so, Teasel was too good a policeman to condone gunning him down without first giving him a chance to give up. That was why the announcement and the idea of shooting at spots where he might hide was probably to scare him out, more than to hit him. But the odds were too great that he might be hit anyhow, so it did not matter if the shots were to scare him or not. At another clump of brush at the edge of the trees, and now they were flying over the grass, and they would be on top of him in seconds, almost certain to fire. He aimed his rifle through the branches, centering on the gunman's face as he flew nearer, ready to blast him to tell the instant he lowered his eyes to the gun sight. He did not want to kill anymore, but he had no alternative. Worse, if he did not shoot this man, then the pilot would duck down to the floor of the copter out of his aim and fly away damn fast to ready for help, and everybody would know where he was. Unless he stopped the pilot by exploding the helicopter's gas tanks, which he knew was foolish to think about. For sure, he could hit them, but explode them? It was only in dreams that a man without prosperous tipped ammunition ever managed that trick. He lay rigid waiting, his heartbeat sickening. Do we have a heartbeat? Is the patient stable? Do we have a heartbeat? Boom, 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 boom. helicopter roared onto him. Immediately the gunman dipped his face to the telescope on his rifle, and he himself was just squeezing on the trigger when he saw what the gunman was after. And thanking Christ he had seen in time, eased off. 50 yards to the left there was a wall of boulders and brush near a pool of water. He had almost hidden there when he first heard the copter coming up the draw. But it had been too far to reach. Now the copter was swooping toward it. And he could not believe it. He thought his eyes were playing on him. The bushes were moving. He blinked, and the bushes heaved. And then he knew it was not his eyes, as the bushes burst wide apart and a great, huge, antlered, massive-shouldered deer stumbled up, clambering over the boulders. It fell. It rose up, leaping across the grassland toward the woods on the other side, the helicopter after it. There was a stream of deep, rich blood glistening down the deer's one hip. But that did not seem to matter. Not the way it was charging in those magnificent long bounding strides toward the trees, the helicopter after it. His heart pounded wildly. It would not stop pounding. They would be back. The deer was just a toy in shock. As soon as it leaped into the trees out of sight, they would be back. Since there had been something hidden in those bushes by the pool, then there might be something underneath this fallen tree. He had to get out. He had to get out fast. But he had to wait until the copter's tail was pointed toward him. The men watching straight ahead at the deer they were chasing. He strained waiting, and finally he could wait no more. Rolling out from under the branches, racing where the grass was shortest and would not leave a trail. He was near the bushes and rocks. Too soon the noise of the copter changed, roaring higher. The deer had made it to the woods. The copter was circling back. Frantic, he ran stooped toward the cover of the boulders, tumbling under the bushes, bracing himself to shoot if they had seen him make this run. The first shot as the copter came upon the fallen pine tree, the second as it hovered up, lingering slowly, pivoting to continue up the draw, leaving him. This is the police. This is the police, the voice was from again. You don't have a chance. Give up. Anyone in these woods, a dangerous future man be near you. Show yourself. Where did you see the young man alone? A mouthful of undigested carrots and chicken bolted sourly up from his stomach, and he spat it on the grass, the bitterness soaking into his tongue. This was the narrow end of the draw. Cliffs on both sides closed in farther up, and weak from having vomited, he watched through the bushes as the copter swept over the trees that way, and then rose up, skirted the top of a cliff, and settled into the next draw, its roar slowly dying away, the voice from the loudspeaker going muffled. He could not stand. His legs were trembling too much. Because he was trembling, he trembled even more. The helicopter should not have frightened him so. In the war, he had been through action far worse than this, and had come out it badly shaken, but never so extreme that he could not make his body work. His skin was clammy, and he needed a drink, but the pool among the bushes was green and stagnant, and it would make him sicker than he was. You've been away from frightening too long, that's all, he told himself. You're out of condition is all. You'll get used to it in a while. Sure, he thought. That has to be the answer. Gribbling a boulder, he forced himself to stand. Slowly and head above the bushes, he turned to see if anyone was near. Satisfied, he leaned against the boulder, his legs yet unsteady, and brushed pine needles from the firing mechanism of his rifle. Regardless of anything, he had to keep his weapon in repair. The smell of the kerosene he had doused on his clothes was gone. In its place, the faint, acrid smell of turpentine that the pine tree had left on him. It mixed with the bitterness in his mouth, and he thought he might be sick again. At first, he was not sure he heard correctly. A wind blew up and dispersed the sound. A wind blew up and dispersed. Dispersion. Verzögern, zerstreut. The air was still. I definitely heard them. The first dim echoes of dogs barking behind him down at the wide end of the draw. A new tremor swept through his legs. He swung to his right where the grass sloped up to rocks and scattered trees. And after that cliff, and bracing his legs muscles, he ran.